I'm Rachel Betterley, Miss North Minnesota USA, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pageant Project. My guest for today, who looks like she can hear me, thank God, is Rachel Betterley. I'll just read out her bio for you before we get started. Now, Rachel Betterley is Miss North Minnesota, as you heard, USA 2026. She is a multifaceted artist, award-winning art educator, and influential voice in creative leadership. A Minnesota Teacher of the Year finalist, Rachel champions inclusive choice-based pedagogy. Wow, it's been a while since I had to use that word in a pageant interview. Pedagogy, and builds innovative programs, presentations, and coaching that inspire students and communities to create, connect, and grow. Driven by childhood adversity, she founded Sketchbooks for Kids, a healing arts project that has delivered sketchbook sets to thousands of youth across 25 plus US states and 12 countries. By equipping children facing trauma, abuse, financial hardship, or mental health challenges with tools to express themselves, Rachel and her partners foster emotional wellness, resilience, and hope through art. Almost there. Rachel also leverages the pageant stage to amplify the transformative power of creative expression. Her art of pageantry mindset celebrates authenticity, confidence, community, and female-led artistry, a journey that earned her multiple titles and most recently first runner-up Miss Minnesota USA 2025. Through storytelling filled with resilience, humor, and relatability, she reaches audiences across news outlets, podcasts, and social platforms. That's a lot. Where would you like to start? Well, let's start with how's your day been today? How's your weekend going?
My weekend has been good. I'm excited to chat all the things. I'm ready for any and every question. I was actually out at the lake today on Lake Vermilion. So Lake Vermilion is really big. It's one of the largest lakes in Minnesota. So we know Minnesota is known for its lakes. There's over 365 islands on this lake though, and there was this big fishing tournament. And so I was down at the lake today kind of supporting that.
365 islands.
Just on the one lake.
How big is this lake? Guys, if you don't know, I'm not from America, okay? So I don't know anything about American geography. How big is a lake that it has 365 islands?
So I don't know the mileage, but I know it's going to take you about 4 hours just to cross the lake. It's that big. And that's just one lake in Minnesota. So we love our lake life. We love our cabins. And I also love snowmobiling on the lake. And so what's nice is the whole lake will freeze over and you get some of the best rides if you ride a snowmobile on the lake.
You've never gone through, have you? I've seen this in like movies where people go through the lake when they're doing the frozen snowmobile thing. That hasn't happened to you, has it?
Oh, no, that's me. I'm on the lake when it's frozen and we're just ripping at 70 miles an hour. It's so much fun.
So you're way up north then? Are you near Canada?
Yes, I run on Canadian Air. I'm right up there. I'm actually closer to Canada than I am in the Twin Cities. So it's only about an hour drive for me to just hike across the border.
Wow. Does it ever get warm where you're at, or is it always cold?
No, it definitely gets cold, but it does get warm. We still will hit 90 degrees. So we still get our summers, but it's definitely, I always say it's about a month behind. So if southern Minnesota has springtime, then it'll be about a month prior, or I should say it's a month past. So we're always behind. They'll see green and we'll just be starting to see it bud.
Okay. It's all very brand new to me. I'm still trying to get a handle on what every difference. I think you're the first person I've interviewed from Minnesota. So I'm doing my best to learn a little bit of fun facts about Minnesota.
Yes.
Right. Why don't we start with the easy question? Why don't you tell everyone how you got into pageantry to begin with?
Oh man. So It goes way, way back. I mean, that is a story in and of itself. But the very first pageant, if we want to get technical, was NAM, National American Miss. And I did that when I was about 16, I want to say. And I got this flyer in the mail thinking, oh, I should just do this pageant. This sounds really fun. I had no idea what I was doing, not a clue. My parents were like, I guess. So I found this really cheap dress, and I remember getting there being super overwhelmed. There was probably close to 50 girls, and I ended up just kind of rolling myself into it, so to speak, and I ended up getting fourth runner up. And so
Oh,
that
wow.
was pretty incredible for not knowing at all what I was doing. I was well in over my head. But I actually thought at the time I was good. I didn't want to compete in any other pageants. I could have continued on. And I just kind of put it out of my mind and moved on, graduated high school, and went to college at the University of Minnesota Duluth. And then it wasn't until I found, ironically, another random flyer at the beach for a local pageant in the Miss America system. I know, it's these flyers, I'm telling you, sometimes the good old-fashioned flyers will just do the trick. And so I had no idea really what the Miss America system was about. I just knew you needed a talent and you needed to compete in swimsuits. So I thought, well, if you're competing in a swimsuit at the time, it must be legit. I had grown up always watching Miss USA and Miss Universe, and so I learned to kind of dive into the world of what MAO was and competed in my first local there. Again, feeling like I had no idea what I was doing. But from that moment on, I really fell in love with that system and I stuck with it. I got better and better, and I ended up competing in that system for 3 years. And I ended up winning Miss Minnesota back in 2015 when we still had swimsuit, and we were competing in Atlantic City. We were doing all the things. It was absolutely iconic when I was
Yeah.
competing. And so that was really the bulk of my pageantry and how it started was with flyers, I guess.
You said you found a flyer at a
Hmm.
beach. I mean, I
At a beach.
understand you got a flyer in the mail. Why was there a flyer at the beach? Was it just like blowing over the sand and you caught it, or there was someone handing them out?
So we know Minnesota loves its lakes. And so the college that I was at is right along Lake Superior. So there's a very big beach there. And for the pageant was actually for the local Miss Bayfront pageant, which is basically Miss Duluth. And so it
Right.
was like, well, it's a Bayfront pageant right on the coast. So let's get girls at the beach and see if they want to compete. I have no idea. I don't even remember how I stumbled across the flyer. I just remember I was hanging out at the beach with some friends and was like, I wonder. And if it wasn't for that flyer, I never would have done it and I never would have learned about the Miss America system. And I wouldn't be here to this day as far as my successes.
What got you interested in pageants to begin with? I know you said you saw the flyer, but there still must
Hmm.
have been something that you went, "Oh,
Yeah.
I want a piece of this." So even understanding that it was back a while ago and pageantry looked different back then, certainly the Miss America system has gone through its iterations as Miss USA is now. But what originally attracted you to competing?
It's always been whenever I'd watch Miss USA, I'd watch it on TV or I'd watch Miss Universe. I remember, I forget her name. It was a very specific Miss Venezuela. She ended up winning Miss Universe and she was in a yellow gown with blue earrings. I don't know why I'm forgetting her name, but I remember her specifically watching that and just being so in awe and mesmerized by these women and thinking how amazing would it be to just stand on that stage and just let yourself shine. I think as a
Yeah,
kid, I was introverted in the sense of what I was capable of, and I knew there was so much potential there, but I never tapped into that potential until I was a lot older. So I think seeing the flyers and things like that finally gave me that little bit of push to be like, Rachel, your potential is there and you can do it. I just had to be the person to kind of believe in myself, to
yeah.
put myself out there and see what will happen.
Okay, but then if we go back to your first pageant, so you competed
Mhm.
in NAM, you then, by the sounds of it, you took a reasonable sized break before entering Miss America. So some girls, they compete, they get the pageant bug immediately, and then they're competing in multiple pageants a year. That didn't happen to you. You took a break, did your
Mhm.
study, and then circled back to it later only because you saw another flyer. So obviously you must have enjoyed yourself, otherwise you wouldn't have gone back at all. But why did you decide to take a break?
That's a really good question because at the time when I was competing or when I did do NAM, it was this sense of I did it. I was happy with myself,
Mm,
but as a young teen and the things I was processing in my childhood and my growth, I just wasn't there yet to continue to push myself and to continue to try to take those risks of putting yourself out there. It was a little probably a little bit of that fear or feeling maybe judged or misunderstood, and it was a world I wasn't mature enough to tap into yet, and I had a lot of
right.
personal growth with myself as a teen. Honestly, as a teen, I was something else. So, I think it's more of my priorities were just so different, and I had a lot of growing up that I needed to do. And later pageantry helped me kind of tap into needing to grow up and seeing the validity of pageants and how empowering it is and how it can help you change who you are from the inside out and really grow and develop. And I had to learn slowly that that was what it was helping me do, was helping me evolve. It's kind of amazing, the evolution.
You obviously you're very heavily involved with art to this day. You were just laughing when you mentioned your teenage years. I just have this image of you with, like, because I just literally saw this on Instagram. One of my friends, she's now got bright green hair, obviously not natural, bright green hair. I don't know how many piercings in her face, and I had to look twice before I even recognized her. Did you go through one of those phases when you were a teenager, or are you talking about inside?
No, definitely inside. I always call myself an emo at heart. So I love all the hard rock. Give me all the Linkin Park. Let's do this. Avenged
All right.
Sevenfold. I will listen to it all. I was definitely an introverted emo kid. And I always told myself, or I always thought that I juggled two different worlds. I felt as though I was this kind of artsy kind of geeky, artsy person on the inside. But then I was also trying to channel this kind of preppy esque title. And so at the time, I was always having this push and pull for my identity and being okay with my really creative side that could get kind of dark, but also knowing that I loved being fun and bubbly and I loved makeup
Mm.
and just doing all the fun things. And I thought that those worlds couldn't collide, those worlds couldn't connect, especially as a teen. And it took me a very long time, up until recently, to be like, this is who I am. And this is who I am. And I think it's so cool that I can merge those two together and have so much fun with it. Cause now I'm just like, I don't care. I like these things and I like these things and I
Yeah.
feel this way and I feel this way. And it's so empowering to finally just pull all those labels back or be like, I'm all the things. And it's pretty awesome to be all things.
How I need to ask you how you managed to, for want of a better word, I'll use the word reconcile, right? Because I think a lot of people have, I don't want to say split personality, but they very much have, one side which is the light side, and then there's another side which is more the darker side. And then you went into, can you hear me? I can see you leaning forward.
Oh, okay. You're back.
Okay. We'll work through it. Can you hear me
Yeah.
now?
Yep.
Okay. I was just saying, I want you to walk me through how you reconciled those two parts of you, because I think a lot of people can understand they have, like, or maybe this wasn't your case, but they certainly have a pageant side where they have to appear a certain way. And then there's their other side where they can, let's say, cut loose. I think especially for Miss America, especially back then, there's a specific image that they focus on, and I don't think anyone would describe it as emo, right? You could describe it as many things, but I don't think anyone describes us. Picture what you think of when I say Miss America, emo. No. So
Right.
how did you manage to compete in Miss America while still trying to balance those two sides of yourself?
At the time, I was going through my undergrad to become an art teacher. And at the time, I was really focused on the studious aspect of my academics and how I can reach my very best version of myself with that. And from a job perspective and from that kind of growth, from a more of a professional standpoint. So at the time, my brain was very much focused on the professional aspect of that. And so I wasn't necessarily focusing on, well, what makes Rachel just Rachel. It was more so how can I grow professionally and academically as well as with scholarships and things like that. And
Yeah.
so my mindset was more so there. And then the creative expression came with all of the classes I was taking in school. So I almost felt like I was putting my creative side a little bit to the side in the sense of traditionally creating, but when it came to talent at Miss America, I was really ingrained with that because I did contemporary ribbon dancing, which is a very unique talent that was on the stage. So I had this really big long ribbon and I'd pretend that I was painting on stage. And so I was putting all my creative expression into that. But it was really much the teacher quality. The teacher person was growing and evolving and getting better and better. And then it wasn't until I moved away, or I don't want to say graduated from Miss America, moved on, became a former,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, where I had to almost rediscover who I was in a way that was beyond professional Rachel, beyond being a teacher, or pushing myself in new ways, and also getting married and becoming a mom. There's this sense of identity.
Yeah.
Um, that it could be identity loss. And so I was
Yeah.
going through this big journey and also discovering things about my past and what I was willing to finally come to terms with in my childhood, as well as how it's affected me to this day because there's so much in my childhood that I buried so deep that I never even revealed it when I was Miss Minnesota in the Miss
Mhm.
America system. It was just so deep. And it took me having my own children to finally
Right.
realize this isn't right. How I'm feeling, what I felt as a kid was not okay, the things that I've gone through. And now I'm in this almost empowerment era where I'm speaking my truth and I'm living in my creativity, my authenticity, and I'm embracing my artistic side. It's not so much about being, oh, she's emo, she's into her feelings. It's just about being okay with expressing yourself, whether that is through fashion or whether you're drawing, or in my case, it's the pottery wheel, or you're treating pageantry like it's art, which I highly recommend doing. You're gonna find that that feeling of empowerment, at least for me, is liberating.
Mm. How did you make your way back to pageantry then? So you had did the, as you said, the graduated or the former in Miss America, and then it sounded like the person who got back into pageantry almost sounds like a completely different person. How did, I mean, you got
Mhm.
married, had kids. How did you go, okay, let's re-enter pageantry? And also, was it a bit weird because it sounds like you were a completely different person?
Yep. It I You hit the nail on the head, Adrian. I am completely different. I feel like I almost don't even know that person before. I did many great things. I did a lot of community service and I'm very proud of all the things that I did. But as far as who I am now, it is, and why I wanted to compete, if we circle back to motherhood, you put your heart and your soul when you into it, when you have children, when you have your newborn babies, and you're all you do is you focus on them, which is what you
Mm,
should do.
yeah.
That is, you are a mom, and being a new mom is incredibly hard, but it's like you have that child and that's a part of you and you're bringing that into the world. That's a lot. But because of that, you can lose sight of who you are. At least for me, I felt like there's also more to me than just being a mom. And I want my boys to see that you can have goals and there's nothing that should limit you
Mm.
to achieving those goals, and I want them to see it. I feel like when I'm pushing myself, I am happier. I When I feel like I am obtaining goals, or I'm growing, whether that is professionally or whether that is in the classroom or with my family or learning a skill. I thrive on that. And I just wasn't having that. And so when I felt like my family was in a really comfortable place and I have a really good support system, I was getting this itch of, well, pageantry has always made me become a better version of
Yeah.
myself. And so, what if I tap into it again? What would happen? And it's kind of scary because when you leave the world of pageantry behind, because I truly at the time thought I wasn't planning on coming back, to go back into it is a whole nother ball game. It
Yeah.
is, because you are rusty. Well, I was rusty. I had to relearn how to walk. I had to relearn communication skills, all these things that I did very well when I
Yeah.
was a title holder. I had to relearn how to do, or just dust off how to do it. And even when you know how to do it, people do it differently now. So
Yeah.
pageantry is always an evolving sport. And I'm like, I learned very quickly, I just can't rely on what I did in the past. I have to always be learning. And so the teacher person in me, where I was like, I'm getting kind of stubborn now. I feel like I can do better than this. I worked really hard. I practiced. I got coaching. I I started tapping into Mrs. Pageantry. And I'll tell you
Yeah.
this, Adrian, Mrs. Pageantry is a whole nother ball game. It it is its own entity. It's its own realm of pageantry when you're diving into the Mrs. division. And that could be hours of conversation too. But I had to learn how to navigate a different style of competition for married
Yeah.
women, and I found a lot of success in that, but I also was, because of my own healing journey with my own childhood traumas, that I was getting those successes in pageantry and really
Yeah.
being okay with opening up to the judges that they really like to see and being consistent with that. But that is ultimately what led me right here now competing for Miss Minnesota USA, was the changing of the rules and how
Mm.
absolutely iconic that is, because my heart has I've always had a love for Miss USA and appreciation for Miss Universe, and always being the ones to evolve and to never kind of play it safe. And there's an
Yeah.
artistry to Miss USA that I appreciate so much, which is why I gravitate towards it. It's very innovative. And so when the rules changed, I was like, Mrs. Pad, this, bye bye. We need
Yeah.
to be evolving with pageantry too, and
Mm.
pageantry needs to continue to evolve. And so I felt like it's really aligning with who I am and how I've evolved, how pageantry's evolved, and it's all coming full swing in one big, like one big slam. I feel like we're getting hit with it all, and I'm here for the ride though.
I want to ask you about motherhood because this is really important. Because as you mentioned, I think when you have your kids, a part of your identity it shifts. I don't want to say loses it, although it can feel like a loss, especially if you had a career or you're planning on a career, then suddenly you have the kids and sometimes you need to
Hmm.
pick between the two. But you layer on top of that the Mrs. Pageantry and then the evolution, like at Miss USA, where they allowed married women to compete. And I remember when that first happened, and I thought it was a great thing. And I thought, well, when they get up on stage, it should be about whether you can do the job or not. It shouldn't be. And I remember having a discussion with a one of the directors at the time, and she felt quite differently because she felt that if you're a mother, you wouldn't have the time or you wouldn't make the title a priority. And I thought that seems a bit backwards in my book. That I think we should allow the women to compete, and if they can do the job, surely we should be giving them a chance to prove it rather than saying, no, she's a mother, she can't do it anymore. So when how did you feel going back into the Miss USA system specifically? Because, as you said, you competed in the misses. But for me, the misses and the miss have always sort of been very, very different, especially in terms of they seem in the misses to ask a lot more questions about motherhood, which makes a certain amount of sense. But maybe in the miss, they don't. Can you just walk us through that journey of entering Miss USA as a mother now?
I feel like I'm this knight and I have to prove myself, right? I have to beat this notion of, because someone's a mom or they're married, that they
Yeah.
can't do XYZ. And I just feel like I have to really work to change the narrative. And unfortunately, that's just how people's perceptions are going to be, because that's the culture of how a lot of it is. But what people don't understand is that aging is different now. It's evolving. I mean, think about The
Yeah.
Devil Wears Prada 2 and how all those women are over 40 and it's grossing over $700 million already. And it's this idea of people have a stigma with age, or XYZ with kids, and it's like, here these women are out here making this movie and doing all the things, yet that's celebrated, and as it should be. And
Yeah.
so it's about breaking these stigmas, and and that's hard because I've had internal struggles myself with needing to face these. Well, am I making it feel like, am I doing something wrong? And then what makes me think is, I feel like I'm the best version of myself. I'm the most healed version of myself. And
Mm.
I'm evolving and I'm helping my community. And I just don't see how that is a bad thing. And so if you have balance in your life, for example, I'm a teacher, I am a mom, I am a wife. It is all about your time management and balancing it all and knowing where to put your eggs in the basket and manage
Yeah.
your time and utilize it well. And being able to utilize your time well comes with experience and age. I utilize my productivity levels way better now in my 30s
Mm.
than I did in my 20s. So it's like, just because our age is, or being a mom or XYZ, it's like, well, let's take a step back here, because it's really about the person and what they're passionate about and what they want to, what how they want to spend their time, regardless of if it's pageantry or if it's their career. It's about dismantling those stigmas, and I
Yeah.
think we're getting there. I think
Yeah.
what happened at Miss USA with many of the married women there and the moms there is a step in the right direction. I loved seeing that. I think the only thing that's gonna break those stigmas is, like you said, give them a chance.
Mm.
How will you know if you don't give them a chance?
Yeah.
And I know, for me, just thinking about my past experiences in Mrs. Pageantry and finding success in other pageant systems like Petite USA and Universal Petite, the women that were involved in those systems, regardless of the age, because there's many
Mm.
divisions, they could care less if my title said Miss, Mrs.,
Yeah.
Teen, Elite. They could care less what it was before it. They just wanted to see that I was a passionate title holder, that I cared. And the system, the women that were in it, there's a bond, because when you don't care about that and you're just looking at the woman behind the title and you see she's got the receipts, she's showing
Yeah.
up, she's utilizing her social media, she's going on appearances, she's working her platform, her social initiative, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter if she's a mom or a
Yeah.
wife. What does that have to do with it? Nothing. So, and then it's almost like people are caring about other people's business a little bit too much
Yeah.
outside of pageantry. If the job is done, what does it matter, her age, her title, or whatever it may
Yeah.
be? I just think it's breaking stigmas.
I think a lot of it is in the way that we actually look at it. So, I mean, becoming a mum, you could say some people look at it as, oh, she won't have time. But I mean, as you said, becoming a mum and then still having your career as a teacher, I think you have to get really good at prioritizing your time, because there are so many demands on it. So, just to be fair, like as a mum and as a working mum, going into Miss USA, which is, the biggest competition, probably one of the biggest competitions in the world. What advantages do you think you have this time around over your previous self that was competing back in 2015? I mean, that previous self also had a lot of success in pageantry as well. What advantages do you think you actually have over your younger self competing this time?
The biggest advantage is that I am so comfortable with who I am. I'm so comfortable with my healing journey. I'm comfortable with the decisions that I make, down from the wardrobe, the way I want to communicate, the things that I want to do. The biggest thing that I do differently too now that's different is I outreach to women in pageantry way more than I did when I was in my 20s. So for example, in my 20s, I was more kind of focused on my own personal growth and professional growth and wellness through like scholarship and
Yeah, yeah,
appearances and just focusing on just being the best single title holder that I could be. But
yeah,
now in my 30s, I capitalize on relationships and communication, communication with people. The people that I meet has value. The connections that I make with people have value. And so I look at that marketing and connection with people and who you know as so valuable in your life, because when you meet people, when you get more people into your circle, when you do things like interviews, for example, all this stuff capitalizes on what you want to do, the goals you have, as well as builds your outreach. So I connect with a lot more women in pageantry regardless of the system. I'm more of a girl's girl now. I want to see people, I want to see women, I want to see them also be the best version of themselves. And I'm more of a hype sis now for that.
yeah,
And it's like if I'm benefiting too with, for example, my Sketchbooks for Kids project, which provides sketchbook sets to children all over the world who face adversities, the only reason I'm able to get them all over the world is because of other women in pageantry that will
yeah.
help me get them there. For example, just got some to Jamaica. She's an awesome person. Danette helped me with that. She's a title holder in a different system. And so now I want to work with more women. I want them to lead, and I want to be there too to also help make it happen. So it's this sense of I'm not looking 100% at myself, but I feel mature and confident in who I am to also be the biggest cheerleader I can for other women in pageantry. It's so important. I think we need to change the narrative. We need to evolve, and empowerment starts with being everybody's hype sis.
Yeah. Can you tell, because you mentioned sketchbooks for kids, and I want you to explain a bit more about that. So, how it works. And then also, you mentioned that you've been networking with a lot of people. I think I read in the bio, I think it was 12 countries. I can't quite remember. I apologize if I
Mhm.
got that number. But tell people more about sketchbooks for kids, what it is, how it started, and what it's doing.
This is my passion project. This is my baby, Adrian. So to really start this off, it stems back to my childhood. So my childhood was dark. I endured sexual abuse for many years. And so I always had a sketchbook, and that sketchbook was my escape. That was the place for me to let all of my emotions go. And so, knowing that ultimately, now it took me a while to get to this point, but that is ultimately why I love art so much and why I became an art teacher, a Minnesota Teacher of the Year finalist, and ultimately why I started Sketchbooks for Kids. And so I knew if my sketchbook was so impactful for me, that there is going to be another kid that's also going to feel the same way. The other thing of how it started was when students would come into my classroom and they would ask me for a pencil and paper or just art supplies. And I'm thinking in my head, well, they don't have any at home. Well, I
Yeah.
teach very rural, and so a lot of students don't necessarily have or can have access to quality art supplies. So I would start giving kids from my school sketchbooks, and I would say, keep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's yours. And they just look at
Yeah.
me like, this is mine. And so it was touching, and I'm like, okay, I have something here. I have something that I can do more with. And so I started Sketchbooks for Kids in 2022, and it just started taking off from there. I started in Minnesota, and then I started receiving more donations, and then I
Hmm.
started making a social media with Sketchbooks for Kids. And then I started bringing women in pageantry involved as it grew, because I needed a way to also grow my outreach. And then it evolved to countries, getting them into other countries. And so it's been just this beautiful thing where the whole process has been so healing for me. And it's also getting the message out there that when you create, you feel seen. It's the best
Yeah.
way to build your confidence. And if I have women along the way that are empowering that message, that is also just kind of networking itself out there
Yeah.
too. It's been so cool to just see where it's at and how it's evolved.
If there are people watching this who might want to get involved or want to find out more about it, and maybe you can get into even more countries, what would be the best way to get in contact with you?
Yes, so you can follow Sketchbooks for Kids on Instagram. That would be number one. If you do want to donate, you can just click the link in its bio and you will be sent to an Amazon wish list. And all of those art supplies get sent directly to me. And then I assemble the kits, these really cute little drawing kits, and I get sketchbooks, and that allows me to assemble them and then get them sent out. And so it's so fun when you do follow that page. You'll see all of the women that I'm connecting with and all of the places that they go. And I
Yeah.
just actually partnered with 3 Miss USA state title holders already, so that's been super fun. And it's just affirming that it doesn't matter what system, the women are all willing to help, or they reach out to me and they want to help. So for example, if anybody is watching this and you have a great place in mind, maybe it's a
Yeah.
foster care facility, maybe it's a very specific school or a very specific organization where some kids could use these, reach out to me, send me a DM, and we can connect, we can partner. It's really a grassroots effort, and that's what makes it really amazing, because there's places that I've never heard of that they know, and we're doing
Yeah.
all the things right, because I can't know everything. So reach out.
What would be your ultimate like bucket list vision for sketchbooks with kids? Like where do you want it to end up if we're thinking big?
I would love to see an official nonprofit, 501(c)(3). That would be amazing. Just continue to grow the outreach. It's very expensive to make sketchbook sets because you have to get the drawing supplies. It's not just, oh, you throw a sketchbook at them, but even the sketchbooks are
Yeah.
upwards of $9 just for one, for
Yeah.
a decent quality sketchbook. And so art supplies is something that is can seem like it comes from a place of privilege. And so what I want to do is dismantle that and provide it for kids that need it, that might not be able to afford it too. But that would be amazing. See it as a official nonprofit. I think it's getting there, but it's a lot of work to do a nonprofit. So I need to tap into that a little bit more.
I have a couple of friends who started off 501(c)(3s. One of them started with help from her mum, admittedly, when she was 12 years old. So
Yeah.
if you need help starting a 501(c)(3, I know a few people who've jumped through. It sounds like a lot of paperwork and a lot of legal hoops. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like fun, but it does sound like a lot of hard work. Can I ask you, the teacher of the year being was it a finalist for teacher of
Hmm.
the year? Yeah.
Hmm.
What was that like? Because and who has to nominate you for that?
So, teacher of the year, it's so funny because I joke that it's like a pageant
I was going to say,
because yeah, so they start with the nomination process, and so anyone can nominate a teacher. It could be a former student, it could be a parent, it could be anyone. And so you get nominated, and then from there you can accept the nomination or you can ignore it, and then you have to do a series of you have to write papers. I felt like I was in school again. You have to write papers and then you do a video. So it depends on every step that you increase as far as if you move on to
Right.
the next level.
Yeah, yeah.
By the end of it, I had to make a video and you kind of explain your philosophies in education, how you connect with kids and what you really believe in as a teacher. And for me, it was the message of art heals and how I translate that into the classroom. And there is kind of a philanthropy component with it as well. And so it's quite the process. There was, I think my year, there was over 500 500 candidates to start, and then it went all the way down to 11. And my
Wow.
cohort was absolutely amazing. The other 10 teachers, it just blew me away how passionate they were. And so everyone in the room, you're looking around and you're like, anyone could be teacher of the year. And there's me coming from the middle of nowhere, from northern Minnesota, and I'm I don't know. I'm a lot. Sometimes I'm a lot. And so people don't necessarily look at me and they think, "Oh, you're a teacher, huh?" So I knew going into it that I just wanted to be 100% me and represent the arts, and they kind of treat you like a celebrity though. You go there to Minnesota Teacher of the Year week. You sign the board, your autograph. You join this big banquet and you're having this beautiful amazing dinner and everybody's watching you, celebrating
The next
you.
thing you're going to tell me is that you had to walk on a runway in a gown. It sounds
I
exactly
had
like
to
a
wave.
pageant.
I did the wave,
Did
and
you get
I
a
have
crown and a scepter? Did you get a sash?
I didn't get, you don't get a crown, but I do have this really heavy award that's like
Wow.
ingrained. I don't know if you can see
Okay.
it. My name is
Yeah,
in it. This
yeah.
thing is so
You could kill
heavy.
somebody with that.
You could the if I ever have a burglar, I know where to go.
I was going to say,
So
yeah,
yeah, it was a really amazing experience, but it affirmed that what I'm doing has validity. It matters. The judges believed in my message enough to be a top finalist. I
yeah,
might not have won, but I firmly believe that things happen for a reason. And I learned a lot. And it also just reinvigorated my love for teaching. It
yeah,
made me just
yeah,
wanna do even more. I ended up starting to teach a college level art class in my high school, and just giving me confidence to have the seat at the table, to lobby, to be passionate about the arts and how to advocate for it, and to know that I am a leader now
yeah.
that can advocate for it in the state of Minnesota and beyond.
Can I just clarify, Rach? So the other teachers that were there, they weren't all from the arts, right? That they were from
Nope.
different fields. Okay,
Mhm.
so you're surrounded you're in this room with amazing teachers, and I've always thought that the quality of teaching in a country is one of the most important things, along with like health and things like that. What do you think makes a great teacher? Number one. And number two, what do you think those people need more of in order to not actually feel burnt out? Because my experience from talking with a lot of teachers has been, yes, there are some great ones, but sometimes they feel like they're not getting the support. They have to go through mountains of paperwork. There are thousands of students, falling through the gaps. And so they go, you know what? I got into this to help. I'm not helping. I'm done. So, what do you think makes a great teacher? And also, what do you think they need more of in the way of support to actually do their jobs?
Well, you're right. It's definitely not the easiest job. What makes a great teacher is they need to be authentic. So they're not trying to show off to the kids, they're not trying to be a certain way.
Mm,
Kids, regardless of the age, can sniff out
yeah,
someone who is not authentic.
yeah,
If you don't mean what you say, if your personality is not matching the energy you're putting out or what you're bringing to the table, they will see that. And so a good teacher follows through with what they're going to say, and they know themselves enough where they're not perfect, but they're confident to be able to handle and believe their work and what they're passionate about. And so For example, as an art teacher, there's certain things that I think are essential to learn, and there's certain things that I believe that the arts do, and it's ingrained. I try to ingrain that in the classroom, but also allow kids to be able to speak their truth because I don't want
Mhm.
to over control what they create. And so if you
Yeah.
over control kids, then they're losing this ability to express themselves. And I can't speak for someone for a math teacher, for example, but your character goes a long way. They want to know that there's a level of trust there, and you're quirky to like it's okay to be quirky. It's okay to not have the perfect speech, whatever. Just be authentic. And you'll see that when they see that you're being real and that this is just
Yeah.
who you are, they will accept you as long as they know that you care too. As far as the supports, you that's a tough one because I think it is first important to be happy with where you are because every school is going to be different. It's going to be a
Yeah.
different culture. It's going to be a different mood, vibe, energy. You also want to know what grade levels you excel with. So, for example, you might have a teacher that's really good at teaching elementary, or maybe middle school's their jam, or maybe they're
Yeah.
like, no, I'm only high school. It's okay to know certain things in education are not right for you. So, I always say you need to find a great fit. For me, I actually teach at a K through 12 school. It's very small, but my license is K through 12, and I love high school. That's my favorite. But I know I do middle school very well. There's
Right.
something about middle school that I can tap into well. And so I also really like the support from my school. I like the budget that I get and what I use in the classroom. They allow me to do. And so because of where I'm at, I love my job that much more. But
Right.
if
Okay.
I wasn't working with my school dynamic, I think it's so important as a teacher to be okay with acknowledging you need a different shift in
Yeah.
where your job is. But the support is going to come with time too. I know there was days where it was really hard. I think about COVID. I think about the COVID era for
Yeah.
schools and the put your mask
Uh,
on,
yeah.
stay,
Yeah. You
you
have
know, don't come near me. You have to
don't
do
touch me. Get your
XYZ,
hands off
right?
me. Puro, puro.
Oh, it was so hard going and then going to distance learning and then in person. It was so chaotic, and so I felt like some of those times were very dark, and I didn't get to do all the things that I wanted to do with the kids, and I had to fight through it and get through it. And so you'll have those times, but the more experience you have in education, the easier and the better it will hopefully get.
Can you, as an art teacher specifically, just how do you feel about when you're doing art in school, right, as a kid, and then you get marked? This is one part that always confuses me because if it's art in my head, it can't be right or wrong. And I come from a more, I tutored math, right? And English and science. Math is right or wrong. Okay, we can agree on that. Art to me, it was like, I can create whatever I want. You can't tell me it's right or wrong. So how do you mark it? And I had, to be clear, I had a very bad experience with my art teacher. So I've always had this sort of wariness about art. But how do you mark art as a teacher in a way that doesn't stifle the creativity of your students?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, art is a little bit subjective, right? And
Yeah.
so when it comes to what I do, I have certain criteria that they'll have to meet for the assignment. So, for example, they need to show me value. So, they need to show me shading and they
Okay.
need to saturate their colors. So, I don't give them an excuse. It's like this is the criteria. So they'll come up to me, Mrs. Betterly, I'm done. And I'll be like, you could add more value in that spot. That could be a little bit darker, don't you think? And
Yeah.
they'd look at it and they'll be like, fine. And so they know I'll pick at it in a way
Yeah,
where they know every time I pick at it, I'm making their grade that much higher. So I
yeah,
don't give them an excuse to give up. They know by the time they get up to me that I do have an expectation of, I know you can be at this level, but I'm going to be here to help you get to that level. But at the same time, I know I have to meet some kids where they at. So nine
yeah, yeah,
times out of 10, if they are really putting in the effort, they're going to do well with the assignment. They're trying, and I acknowledge that, and I acknowledge the growth too. When I get to the older levels, the I would say juniors and seniors, so the oldest
mhm,
kids in school, they are a little more expressive with how they can do things, so I allow more open-ended assignments where
yeah,
I'll base it on a creative question. So I might say, "Here's your creative question. What do you fear?" And they have to make an art that answers the question. They have to show me what they fear. And so how they interpret the question is totally up to them, and they can use materials that they want. So you might have one student who's drawing, you might have one student who wants to do this collage mixed media. And I try to work with them individually about, well,
yeah,
how can we make your concept the strongest it can be? And so if
mm,
we're working on it together, collectively,
yeah,
then we're meeting each kid where they're at. So it does depend on the assignment. And I hear you, because you know how many times, Adrian, where people are like, art terrified me. I had a bad experience with an
mm,
art teacher in school. And every time I hear that, I'm like, no, because I'm just like, I want them, if whatever they remember about art, the one thing I want them to remember is that they can create something, and they'll walk
yeah,
away with at least one assignment that they really enjoyed, or they slightly shifted their perspective of art, even if it's just a little bit. And as a teacher, we're not going to help everybody. We're not going to inspire every single kid. That is an impossible thing to do. It doesn't matter if you are teacher of the year, but from my perspective, if I can help that one kid change their life, or that couple of kids change their life,
yeah,
and know that they felt seen, and that what they have to say matters and
yeah,
has value, then I did my job.
yeah, yeah. It sound. I mean, you mentioned you have criteria. So for a mind like mine, which is very logical, that would make me feel a lot better because at least I know, okay, why I'm getting the mark I'm getting. The issue that I had was you would try your hardest and get a terrible mark, and then you go, okay, well, I give up. I'm just going to phone it in, and then you get a really great mark, and then you're like, well, this doesn't make any sense, right? But it's interesting. You asked, and I know you probably just asked this off the cuff, like, what do you fear? And for me, because I was going to ask, like, how can someone like me as an adult who really didn't like art growing up actually get back into art? When you ask that question, my mind immediately goes to actual like video media and more multimedia. It wouldn't go to
Yep.
sculpting or painting or sketching because I cannot do any of those things. I still cannot draw stick figures properly. And now I can't even read my own handwriting. But my brain goes to film or photography,
Hmm.
maybe sculpting with iron or something like that. But in school, are you able to do that? Because there's so much. I don't need to tell you that the world's evolving so quickly, and you guys as teachers have to stay up to date with it because you can't teach something if you don't know it. So, are they able to express their creativity more and more in those sort of newer ways?
They are. For me, they are. Totally depends on the art teacher. It might depend on the class too, because the
Yeah, sure.
class might be only a photography class, or it's
Yeah.
only a drawing class. But I have a class, it's called studio art, for example. So that means they get to pick what they want to do. So if I actually had a student who
Wow.
said, I want to make a video,
Yeah.
or I want to do digital art. I have a
Yeah.
student right now who's doing a digital art version on her tablet of the
Mm,
assignment. I'll go, cool, show me what you got. What do you want to do? And so
yeah.
my job is to help them tap into that with whatever they pick, and layer it to a deeper level.
Hmm.
So it's fun though,
Sounds
because I
interesting.
never see anything. It is because I never get bored. And so
Yeah.
I think that is probably what made the judges for Minnesota Teacher of the Year be kind of intrigued with my methodology because of that open-ended nature, that choice, and students who come from all different walks of life and celebrating their culture but in their way without me
Yeah.
stepping in too much is, I think, really important to let them see. And it's hard. Sometimes like you gotta really pull it out of them. But it's
Yeah.
it's so fun. Like I
That's
enjoy my job very much. And that's one of the reasons why I continue teaching and why I've been doing it for 11 years. I don't get bored.
that's where that word, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, pedagogy, right? Or pedagogy, whichever. Do you want to
Yep.
explain to the people watching what pedagogy means? I think I know what it means, but for me, I can nerd out on pedagogy the whole day long, but you go ahead. What is pedagogy or pedagogy?
Yeah. So pedagogy is the art of learning, or how you learn, how the mind learns, and how you want to essentially teach, your philosophies of how you teach. And I think there's kind of an art to teaching
Mm,
in a way,
100%. Yeah.
but it's essentially the art of learning and how you want to learn
I thought it
and
was
the
just
way
a
you
really
want to learn it.
I thought it was a really interesting question you asked. What do you fear? That immediately got my head thinking. Like, if I was asked that for an art class, I'd be like, that's actually an interesting question. So I thought that
Right.
was very, very cool in terms of pedagogy. Um, if I circle back to pageantry for just a second, you came first runner up last year.
Mm-hmm.
You got nowhere, any result other than the win is like down. Has that been tough? And I say down in inverted commas, but has that been tough?
Getting first runner up. I've oh yeah, it is. It's hard because you're right there. It's
Yeah.
right within your grasp, and I had never actually been first runner up before. I have jumped from 4th to winning.
Yeah.
I've not known the placement, and so that this was actually my first time ever knowing what it feels like to be first runner up.
Hmm.
And I will say, once I finally let it all sink in, I was very proud of how far that was, but it also lit a fire in me
Yeah.
to continue. And so there is pressure. There's definitely a lot of pressure that comes with being a first runner up. But what is fun that I will say, and this might be a very different perspective, is because you're first runner up, you have more eyes focused on you. And
It's true.
I take that as, I welcome that, because
Mm,
when I have more people watching, that is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to steer them towards sketchbooks for kids, for example.
yeah.
It's an opportunity for them to see the artistry. So, yes, there's pressure, but it's been fun to welcome that pressure. And maybe that's just the stage that I'm at in my life, where at the end of the day, do I want to win Miss Minnesota USA? And that's why I'm coming back and I have a message to share and I want to
Yeah.
connect with people. Absolutely. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't hungry for that and the potential that I have to represent the state. But at the end of the day, I know that everything that I'm doing still has value, whether I'm first runner up or not. And so the work continues. How I do it, the way I go about doing it, the goals that I have,
Mm,
those will evolve, but they're not going to stop. And so I'm at a stage in my life now where, yes, the title is great and I think that would be wonderful, but I know how passionate I am about certain things, and the title's just one thing. It's definitely not all
mm,
of it, and I hope that by the time people have been following me, and for those that have been connecting with me, they see that what I'm doing is, it is all the things, and regardless of if I hold a title or not, I'm doing those things, and I'm gonna find a way to get it done and have fun while I do it, maybe with a meme or two. and still make those connections, and I think things always tend to fall into place, or opportunities will arrive, and they continue to arrive, and I'm going to continue to ride the ride.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that sounds like wisdom to me right there. That sounds like someone who's had some time to
Sprinkle
think.
of wisdom.
Do you have a Are you a meme person? Do you have a favorite meme off the top of your head?
I love making memes. So for everyone who follows me, you'll see I'll sprinkle in a meme, and or I'll do a series of memes. As far as a favorite, oh, I don't really know. Um,
It's okay.
I
It's a hard question.
there's so many questions. There's so many memes out there, but my favorite thing to do is to just take them and put my own Rachel spin on it, or
Right.
I'll sprinkle in some pageantry, or I'll sprinkle in just the struggles of being a girl sometimes. And so that part is fun. I I'm a creative at heart,
Yeah.
and I like to spend my time content creating more than consuming. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? I need to make some memes now, and it'll just make my day that much better. And there's a lot of support with it. People like seeing them. So as long as you all like doing it, I'll keep throwing them on there.
I think people like a sense of humor, and I think sometimes a sense of humor is a bit lacking in our lives and in pageantry. There's this site where you can make your own memes, and you have to pick the image, and then you get to insert the text. And I went through there looking at which ones could I use for pageantry, and I think it's one from Dawson's Creek. It's like this blonde guy, and he's looking really, really sad at his wallet or something. And then I thought,
Yeah.
pageant girls after looking at their bank account after pageant season, and I thought that
Hmm.
was quite funny. But that's a creativity, right? Coming up with memes.
It's an outlet for sure. I mean, why not? But you're right. I think humor, it's such an underrated thing, and I'd love to see more of it in pageantry, because people
Mm,
connect that way. People
yeah,
connect with everyone's struggles, or their silliness, and I've eased up in the sense of needing to have this absolute perfect kind of
yeah,
persona, and we connect with humor, and children, kids, teens connect with
mm,
humor. And so
yeah.
capitalizing on that, especially as a title holder, you have to know how to read a room, and to be able
That's very
to
true.
adapt and have that humor, especially with young kids. That's really how you're going to get people to laugh and gravitate with you, and have a fun time. And I try to bring a little bit of that energy, not all the time 100%, but if
Yeah.
because that could be too much. But when the moment's right, when the
Yeah.
moment's right, why not?
If everything goes your way at Miss Minnesota USA, are you free in August? Because you realize you'll have another date in August to get free. Like, does that work with a school calendar?
Mhm. It works beautifully. I don't even teach in August. It's
All right,
amazing.
brilliant.
So I can that and that's what's really nice, is I can devote so much time into prepping, and not needing to work, in a sense, is great. So I that's another one of the things about those time management stuff. I see
Yeah,
this stuff through. So when Tom put it out August, I went, this is the time. This is it.
it's a sign.
So this
Take
is
it as a
now.
sign.
This is a sign. And so it's gonna be it would be amazing. I I really think that there's something great happening, and there's so much potential. I think Miami would be so iconic, and I know I would love to represent Minnesota, that I'm born and raised, and
Mhm.
I love winters, but I'm also a hot water
Yeah,
loving girl
yeah.
too. It's not just snow. I can handle the snow, but I do love the tropics. I'm a sucker for that. And give me some palm trees. So I think it'd be absolutely epic, and we'd have a lot of fun. I know that. I would take it in full stride. I would do all the things. So if something like that happens, Rachel is all in, and let's capitalize on this. Let's connect, let's network, let's do partnerships. Marketability is so important, especially for the organization and
Yeah.
kind of how they're evolving. But marketability is really important for me too, in my own personal brand and what I want to achieve as a creator. Because I'm not just an art teacher. I create. I create content and I sell artworks in my local gallery. I do a lot of different things, and to be able to capitalize on that, especially as Miss Minnesota USA, would be an amazing opportunity.
It's going to be weird if you happen to take out everything and you go back into your classroom, isn't it? And their teacher is Miss USA. I wonder if that's ever
Yeah,
happened before. I wonder if Miss USA ever been a teacher?
to be honest, probably
I don't
not.
I
Somebody
don't
should
think it's ever happened.
call us out if not, but I think that'd be such a beautiful thing if you think
It
about
would
it.
be.
What a great way to to show people that Miss USA is
Yeah.
a teacher and she is giving of the community, but she's also not afraid to tap into
Yeah.
herself, into her empowerment. And that's one thing that I get asked a lot is, wait, why are you a teacher? Why do you continue to be a teacher? Like, shouldn't you be doing other things? Because you're kind of famous. Why are you here? And so getting that, I've gotten
Yeah.
used to it, but
Yeah.
it's like people can't fathom being a public servant while also having sparkly, fun, celebrity
Okay.
like status. It's just, you
Yeah.
don't put the two together. It's such a unique thing. But for me, I'm always like, this is who I am though. This is my students, it doesn't even surprise them anymore. That's the thing. I've known, because it's a K through 12 school, I've known them since they were so young. But even
Yeah.
my high schoolers, I put it all out there. I have nothing to hide. And they know that I'm 100%, this is Mrs. Betterley. This is who she is, and rock it. They see it, kind of see me as an anomaly a little bit, but I hope that I instill this message of, it doesn't matter where you live, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter even what your job is. If you
Yeah.
have a goal that you want to do, you can do it. You have to work a little bit harder at it, right? You might
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
time manage or do XYZ a little bit differently, but you can do that. If you really want it, you can make it happen. And so
Mm.
hopefully when my students see me, they see there's opportunity. We're not confined to XYZ. Even if it's
Yeah.
just one kid who sees it, one girl that sees it and is inspired. That's what I want to do. I thrive off of them seeing you can do those things, and you don't have to
Mm.
sacrifice who you are. You don't have to change who you are. If you love wearing heels and makeup and expressing yourself, and you want to be girly but you also go want to ride snowmobiles, whatever, embrace all of that. That is just simply the message that I want people to do, is embrace
Yeah.
the things that make you happy, embrace what makes you feel creative, what brings you to life. So whether that's art or working with content creating or filming or communication, whatever it may be, it's all an art to me. And so instilling that message, I think, is very empowering. And to be able to do that as Miss Minnesota USA, and to be able to be like, I did it. I'd come to school the next day. There's one last week of school. I'd be like, I
There you
did
go.
it. Check it
Told you.
out. And they'd be like, oh, she's off to more shenanigans. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's funny you use the word anomaly, which when I was doing tennis coaching full time, I think my students would have said the same about me. I always liked to keep my students quite on their toes, never really knowing what happens and being funny and being engaging. Like I would bring music to the tennis court and then blast really loud music. And sometimes the kids would ask me, "Why are you playing music?" And I would answer with like, "Don't you like music?" "Yeah." "So what? what's wrong? Because no one else would ever play music. It was just such a with it's so important for the kids to actually enjoy the environment. And
Hmm.
then and you mentioned this and you said it better than I could in terms of just being a real person. They really also seem to respond when you treat them as people too, especially when they get a bit older. If you teach them as I'm up here, you're down there, you have to do what I say, surprise, surprise, it doesn't work. I can only imagine in this day and age, it even works less now than
Hmm.
it did before. But it was so important to just to be able to, as you said, read the room, but build a connection with the
Hmm.
kids and they feel like you actually respect them, I think is what I'm trying to say as individuals. And then teaching for me was easy because you had the connection. Whereas I would see a lot of other teachers really struggle, but it's because they were trying to do the discipline first and they never had connection. And then they'd be asking me about how come your kids they always behave, and it's like I don't do discipline. Look, if they'd misbehave, I call them out on it. But
Hmm.
even then, it's because I have their respect. It cuts through. Whereas you're just yelling all the time, and that's why it never works. So
Hmm.
being your student must sounds like it's going to be a lot. It would be a lot of fun. That's what I'm going to say. Never know what's happening next. This is Betterley.
You never know what you're going to get for the most part. But I think if there's one thing that they would say is that I am very passionate about the subject that I teach. And so they see that and that
Yeah,
translates. So it translates into me caring. And so even if the kid doesn't think they like art at all, I always find a way to pull that out a little bit.
yeah,
And because they see that I care so much about it to the point where it's almost like disgusting, that they just kind of accept that and
yeah,
they see that I care, and but they
yeah,
also see that I do other things. I
yeah,
they see me online, or they see me out in the community. They see me doing fundraisers like my empty bowl food shelf project that I do with the kids every year, where we make bowls, hundreds of bowls, and we sell them with a soup meal. And
oh,
I'm
wow,
invested in the community.
yeah,
Yeah, it's super cool.
yeah,
I'm invested in the community. I want them involved. Am I the perfect teacher? Absolutely not. There's some days where I'm really tired, or it might be a little bit more snappy, but like for the most part,
snappy,
they see that I'm loving what I'm doing, and I don't I don't want to go anywhere else.
yeah,
They see that I'm there, and I'm ingrained, and I like my job, and I have other goals outside of teaching, which I think is important to have. I have other goals outside of motherhood, which I
yeah,
think is a beautiful thing. I think it's celebrated. And but at the same time, I have goals with my family. I have goals with my
yeah,
husband. I have goals in teaching, and I think it's okay to put your hat into the things that matter
yeah,
most. And if you don't give women, like we said before, if you don't give women a chance,
yeah,
how will you know? But if you give them a
yeah,
chance and it turns out absolutely amazing, then now you know.
yeah, 100%. We're going to move towards the close because we've been on for over an hour. But just before we do that, shout out time. Anyone you want to say thank you to or shout out to before we go to the final 10?
Oh, I just want to thank the pageant community in general. Thank you for showing up for me. Thank you for giving me all the love. Thank you for to all the people, all the other pageant women who might have a current title, or who don't have a title, but they've just been following me and supporting me, members of the community. Thank you. I It really does drive and give me so much fuel to my fire to know that people believe in my message, and it's a beautiful thing that we have cultivated, and I continue to do the work and am able to continue to do the work that I do because of all of you who watch
Mm,
and view and stay present and continue the collabs with me, and yay. So that's what I want to say thank you to the pageant community, who's doing all the things and in it for positive reasons, and who want to help shift the narrative in pageantry and make it the best it can be for all the girls. Thanks for doing you.
perfect. All right, let's go through the final 10, and I'll be interested if you take these random questions and answer them seriously or like meme worthiness. Let's find out. Okay, so number one, what is your favorite word?
Creativity.
What is your least favorite word?
Monotony. Monotonous.
In number three, in life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Art.
What turns you off?
Doing the same thing all the time.
What sound or noise do you love?
The pottery wheel spinning. Or
What
the
sound
sound
or
of my
noise do you?
snowmobile. Or the sound of my snowmobile. Brap, brap, brap.
What sound does a pottery wheel make?
Well, it's very quiet, very calm. It's just kind of like, it's just because I know that it's on and I'm using it. So it's therapeutic.
What sound or noise do you hate?
I call it sound pollution in the classroom when younger kids are just jibber jabbering and they're making random noises like ew, ew, or they're like talking above each other. And I'm like,
Yeah.
sound pollution, too much. Let's dial it back.
What job other than your own would you most like to attempt?
I would love to host a Netflix series and I would title it Global Canvas because I'm a big art history nerd. So to be able, and I love actually working in front of the camera. And so being able to combine the two, travel the world, learn about different cultures, learn about the art history of those cultures would be so fun.
What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
To attempt, uh, something where I'm at my desk all day. I need to be moving.
If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
I would pick luck because if you have luck, you have essentially everything on your side if you're the luckiest person ever.
I think you're the first person to answer me that. That's an interesting one. Have you seen any of the Deadpool movies?
I've seen the first one. No, I've seen the second. How many are there now? Three? I've
I
seen
can't
the
remember,
first
but
two.
in
Yeah.
the second one, there's the character whose superpower literally is luck. Like anything she does, and it just happens to be the luckiest thing that ever happened. And so she's very powerful because everything is just freakishly lucky. It's a very, I think
I
her name is
can't remember
Domino.
that.
No, like they're fighting the bad guys, and she happens to crash the bus, but it happens to crash in exactly the right way that it deflects a
Oh
bullet.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's like, and she's
Yeah, look.
stupidly powerful because everything just works out for her.
Exactly.
Okay, right, that's a good answer. I'll have to remember that one. Okay, final question: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Your voice mattered and it helped save children.
Well, Rach, it's been fun. We got through the technical difficulties. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Adrian. It was fun.
I'll keep you on the line for just a sec to hang out with the audience. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you're a competitive pageant girl and you're after some high performance pageant coaching, make sure to come and check us out at thepageantproject.com, where you can start your journey for free. In the meantime, follow us on all our socials at The Pageant Project. Speak to you next time.